I'm on a date with my crush at the park and my heart is beating out my chest. I'm sweating, I can't make any type of eye contact and my voice is shaky. I didn't know why, but I was just super anxious. I went home and I thought about it. I probably have social anxiety. Social anxiety is an intense, persistent fear of being judged by others. A lot of different things can spike your social anxiety, such as meeting people, answering a question in class, having to talk to the cashier at the store. Really, everyday things can give you social anxiety or make your social anxiety act up. This is oftentimes because people will feel like they may get humiliated or judged or even rejected by society. It's simple stuff, but it really can cause and spike or trigger your social anxiety very easily. One thing I want to point out is you can have social anxiety over the phone or through text as well. You don't have to just be in front of somebody to have social anxiety. You could be texting a friend or texting a girl that you want to talk to and have social anxiety. It can still manifest in other situations. It doesn't always have to be in person for your social anxiety to be triggered. So now that we've gone over that, I want to kind of talk about how I've kind of overcame my social anxiety in a sense, or at least managed it. First, understanding the spotlight effect. It's basically when you feel like the spotlight is on you, because technically everybody's world does revolve around them. In reality, a lot of times people are not paying you that much attention. For example, you might be walking down the street and you trip on something. Trip over a rock, or in the TV shows when they trip over the banana peels or they slip on it. You might think that people are going to remember that all day, or at least remember the fact that it happened to you. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. More than likely, they are not going to remember that, or if they do, they remember the situation, but not even remember the person it happened to. It was just kind of like a LOL kind of thing, and then you move on. That's something that I learned, and when I learned that, it really helped me figure out that the spotlight is on me for my own self. That doesn't mean that just because I feel like everybody's looking at me and the spotlight is on me doesn't mean that that's true. Another thing I was introduced to is the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is simple. It's basically when you have an instinct to act on a goal, if you don't do it within 5 seconds, your brain will automatically start to kill that. But what that means is, for example, if I'm on the train and I see a girl I want to talk to, or not really the train because that's probably not the best idea or best place to go to talk to a girl. If I'm out at a park and I see a girl I want to talk to, if I think on it for more than 5 seconds, I'm more than likely going to start to kill that. I'm going to start to talk myself down like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go talk to her. She might have a boyfriend. Or maybe I shouldn't go talk to her. She might say no. She might think I'm ugly. Don't do that. If you want to do something, just do it. The worst that could happen, especially in that situation, is her saying no. 5-second rule. If you want to do something, do that. Do that shit. Like Cardi said, do that shit. Another thing is, if I want to go meet a new crowd of people,
if you don't do it within 5 seconds, your brain will automatically start to kill that.
So that brings me to another point. Something else I follow is exposure therapy. I believe exposure therapy works really well for me. Everybody's different. Basically what that means is I just expose myself to situations to better myself. Overcome that fear of that situation, okay, so for example, if I wanted to get better at talking to girls, what I would do is I would go up and talk to girls. I would learn game, or at least I would learn how to speak to women, I would learn how to speak to women, and then I would go out and try to put it to the test. That's what I really like to do. I don't really like to just sit behind a computer and stuff like that. I have to be in the game. I mean, everybody's different, but if you feel like that works for you, that's something to take note of from this video. Exposure therapy. But what if you're afraid of getting rejected? Rejection is not that bad. A lot of people let rejection determine how they maneuver going forward. And I mean, it should to an extent, but just because somebody told you no doesn't mean that you're a dumb. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It doesn't mean you're a lame. It just means that no, it just means no. That's all it means. Just take it for that. Don't think deeper. But I will say sometimes that no was influenced by things that you may lack in, which is fine. We're all not perfect. But just because you lacking it to that person doesn't mean that you will to everybody else. I will say in most situations, if you're just getting rejected by everybody, then more than likely you need to do some type of self-improvement. I mean, even then, it's subjective. Like, just because you're this way to somebody else doesn't mean that everybody will view you that way. Somebody might see you as a lame, but that doesn't mean that you're a lame. You don't let people's opinion of you determine what you are. One of the things that helped me is understanding that we're all connected. We're all one. I could have been you, you could have been me if we was born in each other's shoes. And what I mean by that is what I became and what you became. We all could have been the same person if we were in each other's shoes under the same circumstances. Everything is connected. I feel like a lot of times people will judge somebody else. And it's just kind of like, if you really stop and think about it, we're all connected. We all are one. You could have been me, I could have been you. He could have been her, she could have been him. I don't really like to judge people for their circumstances because we could have all been the same person. Just understand that everybody is worthy of some type of acceptance. Even if you don't necessarily want to accept them in that way that they want you to, like, that doesn't really mean that they're not worthy of acceptance, or that doesn't mean that you're not worthy of acceptance. Developing your confidence. I feel like a lot of us need to develop our confidence, or at least if you lack confidence, you should develop it. That's a really big and important step in this. You shouldn't do it for other people. You should do it for yourself, but it will help with other people. If you're insecure about things like your weight or your skin, you know, there are things that we can do to help us with that stuff, you know, like, not saying that it's easy. I definitely understand it's not easy. As days go by, you'll start to feel more confident. Therefore, it'll kind of like minimize some of your social anxiety in situations, because if you feel confident about something, then more than likely you'll project that. Learning to improve and increase your confidence is really important. I feel like a lot of us look over that, or we might sometimes even have fake confidence, and it's like, that only gets us so far. I will say faking it till you make it does kind of work to an extent, but like I said, it only gets you so far. Develop your confidence from the ground up. You could wear a white t-shirt and feel like that guy. You could feel like that nigga. That's cool. And for ladies, same with you. One thing I do want to point out though is sometimes people are confident in themselves and still could have social anxiety. I learned when I was watching Hindsight the other day that sometimes people are confident, but they don't know how to express that confidence. It's kind of like, it comes off as if they aren't confident, or like they just don't know what they're doing. It kind of just goes back to exposure therapy. Putting yourself in situations where you can slowly start to express yourself more and more and more and more and more helps to mitigate some of that social anxiety. You want to feel grounded in social interactions. That's really important when you have social anxiety. You need to feel grounded. A lot of things that happen, like for example, earlier in the beginning of this video, I was saying I had been feeling like my heart was beating out my chest. My voice was shaky. I didn't know what to do. Like, I was sweating. And so I'm really feeling out of body, you know, I'm feeling out of connection with myself. So something that you can do to come back to yourself and kind of ease those symptoms is things like this deep breathing. Like, there's a lot of breathing techniques you can learn that can help you in social situations. Let people know if you're comfortable about this. Let people know that you have social anxiety. That way it doesn't come off as awkward, you know? Like, cause if you tell somebody like, hey, I have social anxiety in case I act kind of weird or whatever, they'll understand that, you know? More than likely, people are willing to work with you around that. People won't be as judgmental of you when you tell them that, because it's like, okay, I'm being open about this, so it's like, you're gonna accept me or not accept me. It's kind of like, if I tell you something, it's understood, we understand. So if you see me acting a certain type of way, you understand why I'm acting that way. And if you want to, if we're getting closer, you may feel like you can kind of like help me ease my way down or through that, you know? So that's something that I really found helps if you're comfortable with doing that, you know, letting people know, hey, I have social anxiety. I hope that this video has helped any of you guys who may be dealing with social anxiety and overcoming that, or at least, like I said earlier, manage it. Understand nobody's perfect. Get yourself out there and do that shit for real. That's pretty much it.